Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Podcast Strikes Back. My name is George, and you're listening to the weekly movie show with the boys Connor
Hello.
and Benny.
Hi there.
Well, guys, we are in our brand spanking new, fresh setup. Sorry for everyone who's listening on the podcast channels. You got to check this out on YouTube. I'm feeling super comfy because you know what? Those chairs we used to sit in, there's some serious back.
First thing I did, test, no squeaking.
No squeaking.
Little leather sounds.
This is going to suck in summer, but up until then.
No back spasms.
Yeah.
That remains to be seen. We've been sitting here for 2 minutes. Let's find out.
And looking pretty fresh. So this is a big step for us, and I'm super excited. But yeah, let's get into the show. We got a ton of stuff this week. Avengers is slowly hunting down Avatar at the box office. We got some updates there. We also got a crazy trailer that dropped just after last week's episode, Sonic the Hedgehog. We're going to rip into that and all the debacle that went down there, plus some other Marvel shows being released at Hulu. Ooh, it's going to be exciting. Anyway, let's catch up on what everyone's been watching before we get into the news. Benji, we're going to go to you first, bro.
Yep, same question as last week, same answer. All I've watched is the new Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Really?
I've been working 50-hour weeks lately.
Oh,
I
yeah,
have not
okay,
had much
fair
time for anything. So I just watched that just before coming here. Obviously, there's nothing we can say about it because it just came out.
Was that episode 4?
Episode 4, yeah.
Episode 4.
75 minutes long.
Yeah.
I would say probably the most plot-heavy episode of the season thus far because
Certainly the most plot-heavy. The most happens. Like, it kind of... The first 3 episodes were very set-up-y episodes, and...
Well, one was just a battle.
Yeah. I mean, like...
This one was a mix of everything.
As cool as that battle was, it was just a battle.
Mm.
Like, it
Which
was...
has never been what I actually came to Game of Thrones for.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
there wasn't even a battle in the first few seasons.
Yeah. So I think that, the first 3 episodes kind of felt like, okay, that's good and all, but this one fucking got into it.
And shit's really starting to happen now, which is dividing the fan base, something wild. Just because they're getting to the point, like they've only got 2 episodes left, they're having to start to make some decisions and some finalities. And it's, some people are like, yeah, I'm loving what this is now. And other people are like, lost, this is lost.
Yeah. But I mean, you were never going to be able to please the entire fan base because everyone has,
Not if you ask the book fans.
character. Like everyone has their own, idea of how it should end. I mean, like this is the kind of situation where you can do no right, which means that you can kind of do no wrong.
That being said, we did just see something that I think is a really similar situation to this with Avengers Endgame, which is just one of the most crowd-pleasing season finales ever made. And it's I'm shocked at how kind of universal praise seems to be for that film.
Yeah.
Whereas this is it just a little less like everyone's happy with it, So whatever. I'm enjoying it so far. So
Wait, 2 episodes left?
2 left.
2 left.
2 left.
And they're both, around 80 minutes long?
Bumper episodes,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
are you guys, how is this season shaping up? Like, obviously, it's really going to be dictated by episode 5 and 6, but overall right now, feeling good, feeling bad,
I'm
somewhere
really
in the middle?
enjoying it. I'm very kind of there. It's a very different feel to the other seasons. It feels a lot more contained.
Okay.
Because just geographically wise, like it was spanning big continents before, and there's only like 2 sets or like 2 areas that they're filming in this time.
We don't
So
really
it's-
see one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Most
So
of
it's
the
kind
time.
of one of those things where you're like, it just feels a little bit more personal, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Nice one. So that's it, Benny.
That's it. That's me.
And we missed Leon the Professional because we were setting this shit up.
Yeah, fuck this.
So we'll have to dial that in some other time.
Ruined my
Yeah.
week.
I'm keen for a rewatch. Connor, got a list?
I've got 2 things. One was Game of Thrones, which we just talked about. The other one is I chucked on The Nice Guys, which has been a movie that I have been planning on dialing in for ages.
The
Russell
Shane Black
Crowe,
one?
yeah, Shane Black, Russell Crowe.
That's been one on my list as well.
Yeah, and it's just dropped on Netflix, so
Cool.
it's an easy thing to check out now.
What's Netflix?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I only know Disney Plus.
Yeah.
This time next year.
I've got to say, I was both really impressed and kind of meh on this film. The meh part is because it felt so Shane Black. I kind of felt like I was watching Kiss Kiss Bang Bang 2, which isn't like necessarily a bad thing, but it kind of like, I don't know why. It was so reminiscent. I was like, oh God, okay, that's weird. It kind of threw me off a bit.
It's funny, for better or worse, sometimes those director, like if they've got such a distinct voice, like someone like Shane Black, it can sometimes be really great, and it sometimes inhibit the film.
It's that kind of thing where you see a major, star, like sometimes when you see Leonardo DiCaprio or something like that in a movie, you're like, oh, I'm watching Leonardo DiCaprio. Like when you're watching a Shane Black film, sometimes it can feel like, oh, I'm watching a Shane Black film, and it feels very kind of almost distracting. And
The Predator was kind of half like that, and the other half was like, I don't know what the fuck.
He's really tried to branch out. But I will say this. As a whole, I think the movie was really good. I really enjoyed it, and that movie is sold entirely on like the best part of that movie is watching Russell Crowe and
Ryan
Gosling. Yeah,
probably my favorite Crowe performance. I would say, like, I love the way
you have seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I watched it in the cinemas. I love the way he just like fatted himself up and
had some kind of dimensionality. Is that a word?
Dimensionality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To him
by getting fat.
by getting 3D.
He had so many surfaces.
Yeah, I thought that their kind of banter and them playing off each other was really good, and that really sold the movie for me.
And Gosling was great. He always picks really interesting films, but it's great to see someone who could have so easily gone down that Hollywood pretty boy path, just being so beaten up in that film and like just such a mess throughout the whole thing.
He's kind of touched on that area. He did the Gangster Squad a while back, and for both him and Josh Brolin felt like a toe dip into, can I just do this like leading man kind of whatever type film? And I'm really glad they both went, nah, it's really not for me. And kind of picked better projects. Yeah,
Gangster Squad. That's a throwback,
isn't it though?
What happened with that one again? What they did a lot of reshoots with that. Was that
something like that? It was what's his name who directed Zombieland? Ruben Fleischer.
Yeah,
that dude has like the biggest mix of like decent movies and terrible movies in his career.
Honestly, that was such a weird movie to watch.
Both.
Gangster Squad, because it was like there was obviously some talent behind it. Like they got really good actors.
Oh, it was stacked,
and they got it was a pretty average plot line in that, and you could tell that there was like genuine cinematography. Like,
yeah, and the trailers, it kind of had that vibe of like the gangster movie is back. This is the new modern,
Goodfellas
entry into that suite of classics, and it just did not deliver in any.
It had that
any shape
kind
or
of
form.
Modern day sheen on it.
Yeah,
that makes you kind of go, "This is like you're just no."
Yeah, that digital sheen.
Don't know why we've started reviewing Gangster Squad. Nice Guys is nothing like that. So don't.
and you enjoyed Nice Guys, Benny?
Yeah.
Cool.
I would say it didn't blow me away. Like it was no Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. My problem was not that it was too much like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's just that it wasn't that. Because that movie caught me at the right time in my life. Like I was just getting into film, and I'm like, they can be this good.
Yeah.
But
I had a very
watch.
similar reaction to it. I remember watching it and being like, fuck. Like it was just kind of like getting hit by a semi.
Yeah, I remember when I went to see that, we were supposed to go see something else and there was no tickets available. It was like Team America or some bullshit. And they were like, carted us into Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And I was like, oh, this is going to be crap. Who's Robert Downey Jr.? And it ended up being one of those really impactful cinema sessions that sticks with you for a long time. Because that film really impressed me. All done, Connor?
That's me.
I had a pretty thin week as well. Just chucked on Into the Spider-Verse. First time I've seen that since the cinema. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, animated film from 2018, and probably doesn't need that much of a preamble, to be honest. But
it came out less than a year
like
ago.
a week ago. Fuck, man, I cannot tell you how much I love this movie. I can't believe I only saw it once in the cinema as well. And this is only my second viewing. but holy crap, this delivers in spades. The animation, it should not exist. This should not be a Hollywood film. But for some reason, it came out of the woodwork. It is so brilliant. It's so colorful. It's so unique and creative with its visual style. The characters are amazing. I love how it subverts some things with the sort of comic book genre. I know this is a bold claim, but I think this could be one of my favorite comic book films of all time.
Definitely.
This is including MCU. This is including old comic book movies. There's the suite. Like, this could be my number one.
Wow.
It certainly feels like something different. I mean, for all the success of the MCU and all that, they do feel, and to their credit, they feel like they belong to a universe together. They all kind of like homogenous.
There's a blueprint.
Really. Yeah. And you know, that's really good for turning out a massive profit and for making steadily good films, and sometimes really great films. But this one just kind of feels more fresh.
Yeah, they're not pushing any boundaries from a filmmaking perspective, except in the meta sense that they're making this big shared universe thing.
Yeah.
As an actual movie, Spider-Verse was like a fucking leap forward for everyone. It was amazing.
And then I'd also with the Endgame, like the Avengers assembly or the kind of ensemble, films, I think that they are pushing boundaries on that, and just in the sheer kind of
The scale, yeah.
the scale of a movie like that, and to bring that together. But it certainly it doesn't feel, it feels epic, whereas Spider-Verse feels
New.
like I said, new, like fresh, like it's a kind of a novel experience.
I just don't know how they're going to keep that series going. There's so much jam-packed into that film. You know, it's interesting that they sort of didn't do that typical Hollywood thing to go, hey, let's save one for the sequel. It felt like they went all in. So I hope they can keep that momentum going, because I love that visual style. The way it sort of breaks up when a character's in the foreground versus the background, the way the color mix breaks up. And sometimes they play with frame rates as well. It's really, really special. I can't. And then I watched all the bonus features as well, and I was just like, you guys are just geniuses. I've got nothing on you. I'll just do a little podcast.
Were you competing?
I was.
You walked in there and he's like, I'm not doing enough.
At one
You
point
were
in time.
about to debut your first animation into the world,
that's
like,
it.
nah,
Get
you
ready.
throw it into the garbage.
Yeah, done. Delete, send to trash can. All right, should we get into some news?
Let's get into the
We got some
news.
headlines.
Yeah, the big one here that is no surprise to anyone. First up, Avengers Endgame passes $2.2 billion at the worldwide box office, surpassing James Cameron's Titanic and becoming the second highest grossing film of all time. So it has raced to this position in 2 weekends.
I think that's the biggest part of this. Like, if you had told me that Avengers Endgame made over $2 billion, I wouldn't have bat an eyelid. That to me would have been like, yeah, of course it did.
The movie just came out.
It's the fact that it is just over or just under 2 weeks old, and it is grossed that amount. Like, that is unheard of.
It's been like 12 days or some
Yeah.
shit. Avatar is next on the chopping block. That's around 2.7 billion. So
It's done.
we're already there. That took
Yeah.
47 days to get to that total, and that had a re-release as well.
Yeah.
The special edition. I don't know if
And
you guys remember.
that was the first big film. I remember this. That was the first real big film that came out that was shot for 3D. That was kind of that resurgence of 3D
They
films.
had a lot of things working in their favor, and that and they coordinated that. Like they did. There's no
no mistakes.
No, this wasn't by happenstance.
And that's got to be a major factor. Like I would like to see ticket sales versus kind of gross profit, because
numbers.
At the cinema
Yeah.
we used to charge a good extra $5 for a 3D film, and that was at a relatively cheap cinema. I mean, there's a lot of cinemas out there that would charge well more than that. I mean, that would make a huge difference. And I know that Endgame has some 3D sessions, but it's like Avatar was every second one, if not 2 out of the 3 sessions were 3D.
Yeah. It's also Avengers Endgame has destroyed a number of records here, including fastest film to 1 billion globally, fastest film to 450 million domestic in the USA, highest global IMAX debut with 91.5 million, widest opening for a PG-13 film. I mean, like the list of records that it's broken, it's pretty phenomenal. Where do you guys think this is going to end up? Do you think this is going to crack 3?
I think
Yeah.
it could hit 3, yeah.
Wow.
I think if there's any
It
movie
kinda
that was
has to
going
at
to
this
do it,
point, right?
But it's one of those ones where it's like, I didn't really think that Avatar could ever be toppled off that podium because of those aforementioned reasons. We talk about the 3D, the surcharges. They just kind of hit that wave perfectly, and everyone got that. What was it when everyone was like getting anxiety for not living on Pandora, or yeah, there was this whole thing, man. That
but
happened.
I mean, also with that was one of the first movies that was kind of technically spectacular. Like people would watch that film just to witness an entirely, 3D or like
Immersion into the world kind of thing.
immersion into the world, but it was all visual effects, and that in and of itself was this kind of spectacular. It was the reason to go and check out the film because it just looked so.
That and Sam
at the time.
Worthington.
That and Sam Worthington, he
though.
was a huge draw at the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really had everything going for it.
But I mean, so that was a perfect storm of a film, and I cannot think of a single person that I talk to nowadays that's like, oh yeah, like that film. Oh, I chuck that on all the time, or like that was somehow culturally, or that has substance to it more than just being like a.
It was a funny video going around recently. It was name a character from Avatar, the highest grossing film of all time, just interviewing people.
Wow.
And everyone was like,
Navi?
Oh wow, you did it. I wouldn't have
and
gotten
my
that.
friend sent it to me, and like after 5 minutes of like whacking myself in the head, I was like, Jake Sully, and I'm like, I'm broken. But
Jake
other normal
Sully.
people,
Fucking hell.
Sully, normal people, they can't get it. But
I'm proud of you, man.
it's so true. But you know what the best news here is though? After 22 years, James Cameron has been kicked off the top of the pops.
The top 2.
Oh,
He's
true.
had the record for like directing
He's
the
going
highest
to be
grossing film of all time.
raging over this.
Oh no, he's gonna.
Well, he's still got first.
No, he's
Yeah,
not.
like-
He's not worried, man.
Yeah,
he's
no,
he's
he
like
is.
Avatar 2, man. I got it. I got
Avatar
this.
Do you think
2.
I bet,
Avatar 2
I bet
will
right
do
now
well?
he's in his secret lair, like just cranking that movie out. He's gonna release it before Endgame leaves cinemas. He's like, I'm
he's
taking
just
the top
pumping
spot,
everyone.
baby. Not that it's actually gonna.
Do you think
but-
Avatar 2 will do anywhere near these numbers though?
I think that video you just brought up, the IP doesn't have the weight and the mass appeal that Avengers does.
It's so-
Spider-Man,
It's
Star
so
Wars.
it's so just standalone. Like unlike all of these other things that are successful, the key really seems to be getting the hooks in the kids.
Yeah.
Which Avatar never did. It's kind of a relic at this point. It's 10 years old. They never had an Avatar Saturday morning cartoon that makes anyone who's like grown up with it want to come back to it now, I feel.
That's
Whereas
true.
Star Wars and Marvel are like with you for life.
I remember this is a different kind of different analogy, but I remember a band that I really like. The frontman said every 18 months our fan base renews. So like you have to keep reinventing. We're talking about 65% of the fan base, but it adds credence to what you're saying. Like you need to continually evolve the
When
IP.
you
need
say
to
renews, you mean like stays with them or
No, renews, like a brand new faction comes through and the old people move on and the new people come in. And you can't rely on everyone being into your stuff forever. You have to continually innovate and create new content. So I don't think Avatar's done that. Just quickly, where we thinking Endgame's going to sit? Is it like an actual number?
3.3.
3.3.
Say 3.31. I fucking dare you.
3.31.
Yeah, 1, 2.
This isn't official. This
No,
is
this isn't
not an
official
official
bet,
bet.
yeah.
So the first number that jumped to my head was 3.3 as well, for whatever reason. It just seems like it's not slowing down as much as it potentially could have been such a
Actually,
front-loaded movie. But
You know what? The more I think about it, 2 weeks to 2 billion. I mean, is it impossible to think that they'll hit 4?
I think
I reckon it'll hit 6.
I think it will.
7.
I think if you look at how fast Infinity War got to $1 billion, it cooled off. We're about to get that cool off period.
So second week ticket sales for Endgame were 85% higher than Infinity War.
Whoa.
85% higher. So it's definitely got more legs than that movie. And that movie got comfortably to 2 billion.
Why? What is it about Endgame? Are more people who aren't invested in the MCU seeing it? Are more people seeing it more times? Like, what is it?
It's like self-perpetuating. It just keeps growing because like the more people see it, the more people talk about it, the more people go see it.
And I think that one of the things it has going for it is that Infinity War was so big. Like, it doesn't seem big now, but in comparison. But Infinity War was like one of the biggest events to happen. And I reckon that there's a lot of people in the years since Infinity War that have maybe even got a little bit of FOMO and gone back and like checked out some of the catalog of the MCU and you know, kind of got up to date or you know, just watched Infinity War and they want to see the end of it. And like, I think a massive advantage to Endgame is the Infinity War. Plus, they've had 22 movies at this point to just build up to this thing. Like, I mean, it's just it is slated as the end of an era, and I think that, you know, that has a particular draw to say this is the finale, this is the big one, this is
but
is
you
it.
look at something like the prequels; they steadily raked in less over
But the
the box
prequels
office
were
call.
shit.
Didn't they go 1-3-2 in terms of gross?
Yes, but Phantom Menace was definitely higher than Revenge of the
It was
Sith.
terrible.
Yeah, well, yes.
That didn't help it.
Yeah, but Phantom Menace, like we can't go on quality of film here. Like that can't be our measurement.
But I mean, the word of mouth that come out of Phantom Menace, a lot of that was really, really negative. Like there was a lot of shit that came out of that you know, you'd have had some people that would have left the franchise for dead at that point. That would have said, "I'm not on this ride anymore."
Ja.
Yeah, well, yeah, seriously. I mean, but with Infinity War, it was the exact opposite. I reckon you'd have had more people coming to Infinity War because everything that came out of Infinity War, apart from like a small percentage of people that fucking hated it, you know, most everyone came out of that movie was like, you know, this is fucking great. I don't know why you brought up the prequels. That was a bad comparison.
No, I just mean like I don't think the final entry. A lot of people think that the final entry in a franchise is guaranteed big dollars, and I'd be very interested to look over a number of key franchises and analyze the box office haul because I don't know if there is a trend there. Anyway, maybe we can bring that up next week or one of these other years.
Research.
One of these other years.
Oh, well, next up in other huge news.
This is actually what I wanted to talk about more than anything.
Yeah, well, this is one of the most talked about things going on right now. Jeff Fowler, the director of Sonic the Hedgehog, has announced that Paramount will be redesigning the character following the internet backlash to the first trailer that just came out this week, while maintaining the film's November release. I have a little statement from here that came out for like a day after that bloody trailer. Thank you for the support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. # Sonic movie. # gotta fix fast.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we did it, guys. We fixed the Sonic movie. We fixed the only problem with the Sonic movie.
The internet is good.
So let's start by jumping ahead to our future in trailer time and talk about the trailer first because this is where the story starts.
Yeah.
Or
we're not going to have anything to talk
we had
about.
The posters a few months ago.
At trailer time.
We'll have one other film.
I've just actually got the trailer playing now. God Christ. The trailer was a bit of a mess because it felt like Smurfs 5 or whatever they're on now.
To say the reaction was mixed would be like putting it very delicately because there was very few people really happy with what was going on there. But half of the conversation was about Jim Carrey and half of that conversation I think was positive.
Yes.
So a quarter of the overall conversation
I thought
was okay.
the overwhelming opinion on Jim Carrey was that it's just Jim Carrey playing Jim Carrey and most everyone enjoys that.
But it's something he hasn't done in a while, so
yeah.
And you know, it's something that a lot of people hate in general. Anyway, Jim Carrey I find is a lot like, you know, Adam Sandler and stuff. You had to be there at the time to be like, yeah, I really like this guy. Most adults when like Ace Ventura was coming out were like, what the fuck is this? But no, I quite liked him in the trailer.
I was probably the biggest Sonic fan here, which is not saying much.
You've never admitted that to me, and I don't like it. I'm leaving.
Eggman, he's such a distinct personality. You know, he got it wrong.
Dr.
Jim Carrey got it wrong. Yeah. So listen, that was definitely a talking point. Another point was Sonic himself. Another point, which I'd like to focus on before we get into Sonic and the meat and potatoes of this, was the Gangsta's Paradise theme song.
Wow.
Like, this is just a hodgepodge mess. Like, nothing in this thing flowed together. And I guess maybe I'm jumping the gun here a bit, but I thought that this sentiment that the director brought forward to say, oh, we're going to fix Sonic, we're going to fix his design. That's an eighth of your problems, bro. Like you've got a much, much bigger task at hand, which is actually shaping up a coherent film.
I feel so bad for him because he's gone to the effort of like, I'm going to change Sonic, and people are still going to shit on this film. Like, it's not going to be a good
100%.
film. And I mean, how many times do they have to do this style of film where, you know, the animated, you know, character comes into the real world? Like, it doesn't work.
But I think the early reviews for Detective Pikachu have been solid, so
Yeah,
it can work. It's just
Something
the
inherently wrong
creative
with it.
vision behind it. So I
But
think
that's a world where Pokemon exist. So that's different.
fusion
This
of
is
real
like-
world and CG characters.
No, okay, so that's not what I'm talking
Connor's
about.
talking about this Smurfs Alvin and the Chipmunk situation where it's like cartoons being in like our actual world.
Yeah.
Like Pokemon set in the Pokemon world, which is I think one of the smartest things they did with it. Rather than being
It
like,
wasn't just like
Detective comes
Pikachu-
through a portal and is like,
Yeah, and then suddenly Pikachu has to find its way through our wacky world or our normal world. That's
Okay.
that's the
Sure.
plot device that I'm kind of like maybe I'm just not thinking of the right example, but all the ones that I'm thinking about, which are the ones that you've just mentioned, Ben, weren't really great films. Like they were fine for like little kids, but this is clearly not marketed to little kids because who the fuck is playing Sonic the Hedgehog that's below the age of 40 at this point?
You'd be very surprised. Most of their marketing is kind of drawn to that realm. Like they just had a recent, within the last few years, a kind of a reboot of the character that redesigned him completely. They had a children's TV show come out, and I think that was kind of a big part of
Beyond nostalgia. So this is actually like marketing to
Oh yeah, no,
like,
complete. Like no, the fans of Sonic were like completely pissed off that they changed everything about him.
Okay.
So
What did he look like?
just taller. He had like a little scarf on.
Oh fuck yeah!
Sonic
I need to look
Boom.
this up.
The
Yeah.
game is fucking horrendous.
Sonic
It's so
Boom.
funny.
I don't know where all this marketing is going because it is so over my head. Like for me, Sonic was a game 30 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was, and now there's a movie. Like I'm unaware of anything in between.
It's a well maintained franchise. Like they just
That's
keep going
insane.
at it. They haven't made a good. They've made look. To be fair, I like slag off Sonic all the time. They've done a handful of quite decent games over the years,
Are they
And
making
some
any-
masterpieces.
and a lot of bad ones.
Sonic Adventure Battle 2, baby.
Yeah, okay.
Are they making any money?
Totally,
Sega?
they're good sellers, yeah. And it's a well maintained franchise in terms of just the image and the marketing, like
Licensing.
like you were talking about with Eggman, Dr. Robotnik. Like he's had like one voice actor for like 20 years, and Sonic has had like a couple. Like they look after these characters pretty well in a lot of ways. So it's understandable that they have this big passionate fan base. This movie does not seem to be aimed at them at all. Like it seems so wrong-headed what they've done here. I will say. Personally, watching this trailer made me want to see this movie much more than anything that we've seen before, for both sincere reasons and ironic ones. Because yes, it looks like a fucking mess. I think it looks like it's going to be fun either way, though. And I genuinely like Jim Carrey in this, especially the little bit at the end when he just looks like proper Robotnik.
Yes, that was cool.
But a real slap in the face when because I kind of have it on good source that is like a mid-credit sequence or something.
Oh, for real?
So yeah, they just like panicked in that trailer. It's like, let's put something in here to appeal to actual Sonic fans.
I had a feeling that was the case. Like you're definitely only gonna see that maybe
second.
last
final
2
battle or
minutes of the not even the last battle. It'll be after the last battle.
Do you know what this? Do you know what this is really missing? That Sonic's all about. It's like the color. It's the worlds. It's the beach level. It's the crazy techno level. Like it's quite dark. It's quite industrial. There's a lot of concrete. Like that's not Sonic. Sonic needs to be injected with liquid color. Like they've really, from multitude of levels, have got this completely wrong. And I don't think that what they're going to do here is going to do shit. But I'd really like to talk about this from an employment sort of point of view because, in the film industry, there's a lot of unions involved. So like if you're on set, you can't just keep shooting throughout the rest of the night because there's allotted hours and there's unions involved and there's...
Basically can't exploit your workers.
Exactly. Whilst in the VFX industry, there is no unionism. So this decision for Jeff Fowler and the guys at Paramount, that's all well and good, but whichever VFX house has bid on this project and won it, they're going to get worked into the fucking ringer.
Yep.
If this is a November release date, they need to be exporting files in sort of August or September for rendering, like thousands and thousands of hours of high intensive process rendering, reanimating characters. I mean, God, I feel so sorry for those guys. It's and this is an epidemic in the film industry. I've been doing a lot of reading about this, and I've been speaking to one of our friends that lives in the UK now or works in this industry, and he said there's a real lack of protection, and it's a real big problem.
You got to have protection.
Oh, you don't want little Benny popping out anytime soon.
No. In all fairness, having seen this trailer that they thought was acceptable release, rendering doesn't seem to be a major priority for them, so they can probably get it back to this level of quality.
720p.
Thank God they didn't put fucking Miles and Knuckles in here as well.
So before we move on, there's one last thing that I wanted to talk about, and something that you...
Wait, what do you guys think about that? Like, what do you think about that?
It sucks.
So I will say that at least the director, he's a first-time director. He does come from the animation world, so I don't think anyone's going to be working harder on this than him, at least. Like, they're not just under the thumb of some tyrant who's like whipping them and being like, fix it. But no, it sucks for all of them.
And it's so hard to say because, like, I'm sure that there's a lot of those people that, care about that property and would have put in effort into that. And I'm sure that they're going to, there's that fine balance of that line because a lot of these people are artists and they want to pour their heart and soul into this and kind of get the best product out there. So I imagine that some of them are quite kind of gunning for it. But, it is a bit... I don't know enough about it to really comment on it, I suppose. But one thing that I did want to talk about before we jump on to the next story, and as I said, Ben, or this is something that you mentioned before, which is that there's kind of this sentiment out on the internet and in general, which is that we won. Like, we, the public, have influenced a studio to change a major thing about a film. And in this particular, there's something... Ben, you mentioned it. There's something very hollow about this victory for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons is it feels very dangerous. This idea that a fan base can just get together and make enough noise to make a director or someone change something about a film, and that to me, that spells bad news because if that starts infecting other kinds of films, like a lot of the greatest films of all time are great because the director looked at absolutely everyone and said, fuck you, I'm making my vision. Like, that's the reason they're the director. That's the reason that, other people are writers, not us. And yeah, there's lots of shit films out there that probably could have taken that, but I'd take all the shit films ever produced for the gems that we did get because someone said, nah, I'm not listening to you.
It doesn't seem like a great precedent to set. I mean, it's what we were certainly afraid of with the new Star Wars. That remains to be seen at this point. But at the same time, this is not Star Wars. I mean, for some people it is, but
I think it's also it's one of those things where it's like it happened with James Gunn last year. Internet hordes actively, assembling together and forming some kind of a protest for better or worse. And getting and making action happened.
Yeah. I mean, that's slightly different. Like if a director's like a rapist or something, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't have him," like, yeah, that's a fair call.
Definitely.
I'm more specifically talking about creative choices.
Right.
Like, that's an issue unto itself, and we've talked about that.
It's more the mechanism, and I'm not against people voicing their opinion. I'm not opposed to people uniting together and protesting. I mean, that is a must for human society to continue to evolve. But this is
Sonic.
This is I don't know, man. It just leaves
I see what you mean.
Cold and hollow is the word.
There has to be like a fair mix between taking into consideration what the fan base wants and also saying, I'm making a film. Let me make my film. And this, and to be honest, in this particular case, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's more the precedent that seems to be set. Because I can't remember. Again, maybe I'm just not thinking of the right example. I can't think of a time that has been that this kind of change has been made just because the internet got up in arms.
I think it's fair to say Jar Jar would have had a larger part in episodes 2 and 3 if it weren't for the reaction to the first film.
Yeah, but that had already been released. That wasn't based off like a trailer or something like that.
I say this is hollow because I never actually saw any fans getting up in arms about this. They'd given up on this movie ages ago, I think. But no, I didn't see anyone mobilizing or making protests and shit. I just saw everyone was making fun of the movie.
Yeah.
Like this almost feels like a bit disingenuous to be like, we're doing it for you fans. When no, you're just trying to save your ass because everyone thought it was hilarious how bad this
Shit
looked.
film, yeah.
There are no fans.
I mean, Sonic fans are fucking masochists. They're used to this shit. I will say that's the one positive thing I'll ever say about Sonic fans. You stick through thick and thin, you motherfuckers. I actually didn't hate the design that much on its own, relative to what the character's meant to look like in all other media. Yes, it's a complete bungling of it, but certain shots, yes, the human teeth are weird.
Yeah, the
other ones,
face,
some of the promotional art and stuff, I think looks better and better than the original poster we got. It looks all less jacked. I feel like my first thought, my first thought before this really exploded into other stuff was I thought the effects might have been so bad in this trailer because they'd already done some work tweaking him.
Yeah, you're probably right. Because I remember the calf muscles.
Yeah. The dude, it was it was really off-putting. But now it's just a little
Sonic
less off-putting.
hitting the gym and like just
Something about him.
blue
Like,
fur.
now he looks kind of like a kid wearing a costume. Before he looked like Usain Bolt wearing a costume.
It looks like a onesie.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not on,
weird.
man. It's not on. And he's got that fucked up face and the.
Oh man, I love Ben Schwartz so much that I will still happily be there day one for this movie and probably get some enjoyment out of it.
How is he involved?
He's playing Sonic.
He's Sonic.
Is he? Oh, fuck.
Also, I did like the line when he's got him in a duffel bag and he's like, "That's not my child."
Yeah.
That's great. When you're James Marsden.
Oh, one final thing. Why the fuck did they put in a Quicksilver thing? You know, when the missiles are there and then he pauses time and there's nothing new here. There's nothing new here.
No, but like the Quicksilver scene is so good. I can understand why someone would try to ape it. Like it's not been done very
Go
often.
again. Go. Take it to the next level.
Can we just stop calling it the Quicksilver scene? Because that's been done a million times before that as well.
Such as
It's a pretty
name 500,000.
Yeah.
I won't even ask you to do the full amount.
7 years later.
No, but that's been done in a bunch of different films.
Name
And like
one.
what's that animated one with the fucking rabbit? Fuck you.
Sonic
Watership Down.
Over the hedge or whatever it's called.
Watership Down,
I don't
the
know why that's
BBC
in my
one.
head. I've seen it, all right? Just
Okay.
take my
No,
word
it's
for
that
it.
fucking movie with that guy.
Why are you giving me an Irish accent? That's not...
You're Irish.
You're not Irish?
Conor McGregor.
Alrighty,
damn all
next
of you.
up, in potentially more positive news, Hulu and Disney are producing 2 live-action Marvel Comics series, Ghost Rider and Helstrom, set to debut next year. First up,
That's
Ghost
debut
Rider.
for everyone else. You said debut.
Debut, yeah. First up, Ghost Rider will star Gabriel Luna as the Robbie Reyes version of the character. However, sources stress that this will be a completely new iteration of Ghost Rider, not connected to the version in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. from a couple of years ago, who was played by Gabriel Luna. So that's a very curious little detail there. I'm not sure if something got lost in translation there, potentially, and they're just saying it's not going to be connected to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it is that version of him, because it seems odd that they would be doing this otherwise.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing is that with both of these series, they're on Hulu and not Disney Plus because they're not going to be kind of part of that family-friendly Disney arm. They could be going for something a bit darker, like the Netflix stuff. This could be the next iteration of that.
Okay.
So I'm hoping it is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. version of that because Gabriel Luna as Robbie Reyes on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was so fucking good. That's when that show was just really kind of peaking right there. And I'm keen to see some more.
He's still Nick Cage for me.
Wait.
That's not a good thing.
Sorry,
Oh, right, no.
sorry. I'm confused. So Gabriel Luna's coming back?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Well, not-
and he's
not
not Johnny
not
Blaze.
He's not
coming
coming back.
back.
He's going somewhere else.
He's going
to
somewhere else
Hulu.
to play the
He's
same
coming from
character.
ABC to Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
he's not Johnny Blaze.
No, he played Robbie Reyes in
Johnny
in
Blaze.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Is Johnny Blaze even the right name?
Yeah.
Johnny Flame.
Johnny Flamehead. And
You're right, George.
I say these names with such. I'm like, I say the name and I'm like, fuck, is that the fucking name?
Oh, mate, welcome to my life. I basically just put names out there and be
Well,
like,
is that the guy from the other show?
Well, I love
know
that.
what?
I love that the Johnny who actually sets himself aflame is called
Yes.
Johnny Storm.
Yeah, Johnny Storm.
Well, Ghost
That's
Rider is called Johnny
exactly what I
Blaze.
thought.
Yeah.
I hope that's been in the comics at some point. Him giving him shit for that.
see, I don't even try and guess names anymore. I just stop where I would normally say a name and then just look at Ben. Like,
And then goes
fill in
"Hello."
here.
Johnny Storm. Thank you, Ben.
So what do you guys think of like more Marvel shows on the way and on a different platform now? We already have ABC, Freeform, Disney Plus, Netflix, still some to come, and now Hulu is jumping in on this as well.
I
I've
think
been
it's
saying this for a while, man. Like, I'm gonna have to subscribe to Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix. They've all got their own little monopoly.
I swear to God, George.
No,
Yeah,
this is a really interesting move, and I wonder if they're going to somehow consolidate it in. I wonder what sort of partnership deal they'll have with Disney Plus, how separate they'll feel.
So
I think
I'm
it'll just-
hoping it's MCU adjacent, like the other kind of shows we have are,
Yeah.
that could feel like they can reference some stuff, and you can still just hold that little bit of hope that one day they'll be connected.
Yeah, I think this will be very much like the Netflix shows, just on a different platform. Because I think that, God, obviously something is going on between Netflix and Disney. They're not particularly
It
friends at the
is
moment.
it is Jeff Loeb producing, so he's kind of from that Netflix world. So
Yeah.
it does feel like he's just trying to hold on to that life. But
Yeah.
I don't know, hopefully it's good.
Yeah. See, once again, I hesitate so much with this, like, just kind of even speculating about this series, because more than likely I'm not going to like buy a Hulu subscription. Can you even get Hulu in Australia?
Not at the moment, I don't think.
Yeah.
Hulu.
That seems like a massive gap in the market to just say fuck you to a good chunk of the international market.
Well, generally shows that have more specific providers in the States that we don't have here, most of them come to Netflix, which works out pretty well
Really?
for us.
Even
Yeah,
it's a
'cause we've,
Hulu original?
I don't know about Hulu, but certainly, like all the DC original animated content just goes straight to Netflix here. So
Okay.
I don't know if they're even looking at
Was Haunt and Glove, Cloak and Dagger?
Cloak and Dagger.
I'm fucking holding
Jesus.
on to that name, man.
remember that.
Are you? Was that on Hulu? What was that on?
Freeform.
Freeform.
I think that's maybe part of ABC.
Jesus, man.
It's kind of more of a teeny.
Honestly, in 10 years' time, I'm going to, what's that? Netflix? Like, there's going to be 78 streaming services.
you now,
like,
George.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be
What's
annoying?
going to happen? What's going to happen?
This is that I mean, I stick by this. That is my number one issue with Disney Plus, is that is I think it's going to create such a,
I don't think it's Disney Plus. I think it's streaming in general.
well, yeah, it's the kind of the way that the industry is going, which is individual content producers are going to release their own streaming services, and what we're going to be left with is just basically cable again.
But they're going to battle it out. Some will rise, some will fall. And
But that's cable. That's like, you're just describing cable.
Nah, we're not getting into this again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've already smashed you down one time.
What are you
I can't
talking
do it
about?
again.
If you all right,
I
all
might
right.
have energy.
I swear, if
98%
you-
of people out there are going to have Netflix and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And they're going to be fucking set.
Oh, that'll
And
be
that's
me.
it. Boom.
I already have Amazon and Netflix.
Amazon.
And I
What do you
feel
watch on
like-
Amazon?
I
Other than Grand
originally
Tour, name one other thing.
I originally watched it for that. What have I been watching recently on it? I just finished up a series on it, actually. I watched Guava. I was really glad I had it for that. I'm trying to find time to start American Gods.
Oh, is that on there?
Don't
Yeah.
do it to yourself, man. The second
Ooh.
season's apparently a fucking mess. The
Well, that's
first
what I
season
heard.
is so good that
Just leave it at that.
It's
I'm kind of a
heartbreaking.
It's like Game of
masochist in that
Thrones.
sense.
Just leave it at season 1. You've seen the best.
Episode 6.
Yeah.
You've seen the best.
I'm kind of a masochist in that sense, because I just really want to see season 1. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll just do it. There's a couple of things on there that I do want to see, and I originally did get it for not Top Gear, whatever
You
it's called
should
now.
watch Man in the High Castle. That is a really cool show.
I've
heard
heard
good
really
stuff
good
about
things
that,
about
yeah,
it.
really good stuff.
Yeah.
Alrighty, next up we got some sad news.
Got some sad news here.
pass
R.I.P.
over to-
Peter Mayhew, our boy Chewie, who tragically passed away at age 74. Yeah, he's had a lot of trouble. I think he's been in a lot of pain. He's had some chronic pain. And yeah, it's really sad. I think he really struggled in the last few years of his life. But what was really cool is he was in The Force Awakens as Chewbacca. He was at all the Star Wars celebrations, and he really got to get that second wave or third wave of Star Wars, I guess. He got to get that love, which was really cool to see. And listen, just sending our best to his fam and his friends. And
Did he? You said he did Force Awakens. Did he not do Last Jedi?
I don't think he did. I think
I thought Solo was the first time that it wasn't him.
You could be correct. I'm not 100% sure. Listen, I know in some parts of The Force Awakens, he doubled with the new guy who's Danish, I believe. They sort of did 50-50, or Peter Mayhew did the sitting scenes and the sort of movement scenes. The other guy
Jonas
did.
Sonomatu or whatever. Sotomo.
Yeah.
So it says, he did The Force Awakens was Peter Mayhew. Rise of Skywalker was Jonas, whatever his name is. But it doesn't say who did The Last Jedi.
I have a feeling he wasn't, man. I don't think he was very well during that period. So, yeah.
Did he do episode 3?
So long, Chewbacca. Miss you, I will.
That would have been a lot of work for 2 seconds of screen time.
No, that was CG. CG.
Yeah, it looks as though he did Last Jedi. Jonas did. As well as obviously parts of The Force Awakens and Solo. And I don't think that Peter Mayhew did any of The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I don't think he's done anything since The Force Awakens.
Yeah, that's a real bummer.
Yeah, but I'm glad he was in there for Force Awakens. I think that was the big re-entry. Chewie, I'm home. Got to be there with Han. I think that's a really nice little celebration of his involvement in Star Wars.
That's what 2 out of the 4 kind of main cast.
Yeah,
Gone. Like it's getting to that age. Like how old is Harrison Ford now?
God, he's
got to
79.
No, he's got to be in his 80s by now.
Wasn't he like late 30s in the first film?
76. Wow.
Really? Is he aging at a different rate?
Yeah, I think he is.
I can't be bothered doing the math right now.
Honestly.
But
Holy fuck.
And Mark Hamill would be he'd be in his 60s, right?
Yeah, Mark H.A. 2 L's.
Oh God.
2 L's. 67.
Okay. Yeah.
67. How old's JJ? Let's have a look.
Why?
I'm just curious.
Why do you want
52.
to?
And how old's George Lucas?
No, please stop.
108.
Please
Oh,
stop.
there we go.
Yeah. That's. I mean, it is getting to that kind of, I guess, era where we're going to start losing some of these really iconic characters of.
It was 42 years ago, 1977. I mean, time keeps it going.
Yeah.
should we start doing bets on that?
Yeah, please no.
Where the time goes.
That's very.
Also, another little bit of Star Wars news here. We have a little bit of cover arts for some reason, the art of the Rise of Skywalker. Really, the only interesting thing here is the front cover, which showcases Rey and Kylo, 2 halves, light side on the top, dark side on the bottom. What I think what's really interesting about this is whether or not this is going to be in the film. I can imagine this being in another little JJ sequence. That like that.
Wait, so are you saying like that actual picture, like that's like a frame from the film?
Well, it's not. Well, put it this way: it's not a poster. It's concept art, so it would have to be somewhere. They're trying to build something for a scene.
And we've seen some trippy stuff in the previous 2 films, especially that freaky "Who Are My Parents" cave from Last Jedi.
That's exactly what I was referencing. And something I've been thinking about that kind of looks like this bit is there's a bit in Rey's sequence where there's a guy who gets lightsabered and she looks up and there's Kylo and the Knights of Ren. This looks similar to this kind of area. So maybe that was a premonition for the future. Anyway, I know you guys aren't probably that amped on this, but I'm
trying.
I had a
I'm
good
amped.
laugh at the Journey to Star Wars, The Rise of Star Wars, the Resistance Reborn cover.
That's an upcoming novel.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes.
I had a good laugh at that because the cover it's got Leia holding a gun and then it has the rebel kind of insignia near the end of the gun. And when at first glance, it looked like she was like strumming on a guitar. And it just looked like Rock and Leia. I couldn't help myself.
I can see that.
That really made me laugh.
Well, there we go. That's our little Star Wars update for now.
Alrighty, well, finally, from Star Wars to Star Trek, something that used to be worthy of a dichotomy, nowadays not so much. Quentin Tarantino has given us a quote on his potential movie. It's a very big possibility. We've talked about a story in a script. The script has been written, and when I emerge my head like Punxsutawney Phil, post Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we'll pick up talking about it then.
This is never getting made.
Yeah, completely non-committal, but the interesting tidbit there is he's written the script, which is cool. So Quentin Tarantino's Star Wars exists, Star Trek fuck.
I thought you were making a joke.
No, that'd be something.
That's a Freudian slip.
Do we have any idea of what the characters are, or if there's going to be
nothing?
any
He said
known
it's an idea that he came up with talking to J.J. Abrams. So that doesn't mean anything.
That's so
except that we'll
interesting.
never know.
They seem like didactically opposed
Yeah,
directors. Like they one is the kind of epitome of the studio man. The other one is the exact opposite, like the studio's worst nightmare type.
And
shit.
I think also like JJ is like a producer. He comes from that kind of background, so he's kind of like using editing, post production. It changed. His films change a lot after they've been shot. Whilst Tarantino, he's a writer. He writes the script, and that's what we're going to shoot. So all this kind of everything's been ironed out in Tarantino's script. He's not going on set without a fucking well put together piece of documentation. So that's very interesting to hear that he got this idea off him.
Yeah. Did either of you ever read the leaked script for Inglourious Bastards?
No.
So
I saw the movie though.
Yeah. Oh, well done.
Thank you.
No, the question was going to be, and
as well as Hateful Eight, or are you thinking of Hateful Eight?
no, I'm thinking
Remember
of
that
Inglourious
leaked when
Bastards.
he canceled the movie?
This was years ago. This is like 8-9 years ago, just before Inglourious Bastards came out or was announced. I remember specifically because a friend of mine had actually read the script before the movie came out, and I was curious to see how closely the script resembled the actual movie. Particularly because it wasn't a revised script; it was a script that had leaked before or kind of during the filming. So. Yeah, if anyone in the comments has actually read it before the or has a copy of that, the one that was leaked before the movie, it'd be interesting to know how different it was.
Not different at all. I can tell you now.
Thank you, George.
I can tell you right now. Okay. Something interesting about this Tarantino film. Do you guys think? Let's say this Tarantino Star Trek. Let's say it does go and get produced. Like it's into filming and we're into the process. Do you think this is going to be a Tarantino Star Trek film? Or do you think this is Tarantino coming at it from he's not, those Tarantino-isms aren't going to be there. This is him trying to fully form what he thinks is a great what is a great Star Trek piece. That's the interesting part of this to me.
I actually think his style will work quite well because his recent, I guess, foray into Westerns sits well with the kind of space Western style. I think that the placement is.
Would you say Star Trek is space Western though? Isn't that Star Wars?
Yeah, I suppose it is more Star Wars, really.
I think the kind of unknown factor for me here is, but I could really say it, is that he seems at the right age that Star Trek could be quite a big deal to him.
Yeah.
He kind of grew up in a world where that was much more present than it is nowadays.
I guess
I could see him making just a legit trying to make a good Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I don't see him kind of sacrificing his own, he's too arrogant in my mind. I don't know the guy. But he seems like someone that's way too arrogant not to have his own personal brand on something. If he puts his name to it, I can only imagine that it's going to be a Tarantino film, particularly because the guy only has how many films?
This is his
ninth
ninth one coming up.
Ninth, yeah.
Wow, I just poked myself in the eye there.
Well done.
It's been a few years since I did that.
Professionals.
Here's a man that is obviously taking his time with each film, very methodically released films. I don't think that he's just going to release a Star Trek film. Again, having said that, I think I was thinking a bit too much in the Star Wars camp in terms of his story, his style fitting well. The more I think about Star Trek, which is far more episodic.
It's more science fiction. Star Wars is fantasy.
Yeah. Go to the planet, find the new aliens, deal with the thing on the planet next. That feels very Star Trek-y, and that doesn't feel like Tarantino at all. So
I think what Tarantino could potentially bring to Star Trek is bringing that conversational diplomacy from the 90s TV series, that striving for a better future, which is kind of, I haven't seen Discovery, but it's kind of been lost in the JJ ones. And for better, I still love those. Well, at least the first one and this third one. But I'd be interested for it to go back to more of that kind of style. Deep Space Nine, Next Generation.
I think that's what he would do, honestly, because he's clearly never more comfortable than it's a bunch of people sitting around a table talking to each other. And
Exactly.
I love that's very next generation.
Isn't there meant to be a Star Trek property coming out with Jean-Luc Picard coming back out? Do we have any information about when that's meant to be coming out? Or
End of this year, right?
God, I can't even remember.
Star Trek?
I feel like I remember that we talked about that story, God, probably mid last year, and I just haven't heard anything about it since.
Yeah, they're really trying to pump out the Star Trek now. They've got that Discovery, 2 new animated shows they just announced as well.
The series, so Untitled Picard series, the series is expected to premiere in late 2019.
Wow.
It consists of 10 episodes. I saw the guy who works at the supermarket across me. He was wearing a Trekker badge the other day, and I was like, "Hey, he's a Trekker, not a Trekkie. Don't fall for that. You got to call him a Trekker." He was like, "Hey," and started talking about all this, and then he told me Picard's coming out later this year. So everyone's excited for that one. We done? We done with the news?
What time is it?
It's trailer time.
Trailer time. Well, we already talked about the biggest trailer to come out this week, which was Sonic the Hedgehog, which kind of came out last week, just after we finished the episode.
Sonic.
And, well, fun fact, there's going to be a Spider-Man trailer probably before we go to bed tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
Classic
So look
us.
forward to that. It's
Classic
a
us.
little sizzle on the steak for you.
Yeah, we'll be chiming in with our thoughts next week when you don't give a fuck.
How does that happen? It's like, it doesn't matter what day we do the episode on. It's always like an hour after we finish recording the trailer drops. It's the most annoying
You know
thing.
what the answer for this is?
Just do it later.
Wednesdays.
But as soon as we start doing it on Wednesdays, it's just gonna, drop on Wednesday nights. That's how this works. Like we've changed when we.
But at least we
record
get
like
Monday and
6
Tuesday, right?
Damn it. All right. So the only one that we've got left is Crawl, which is a monster horror film by Sam Raimi.
Fucking man. You see you've fallen for the old Brightburn James Gunn
Yeah,
trick.
I knew. I was about to ask.
I'm just like
literally
looking
about
at
to
it,
ask.
like, Sam Raimi did this?
No, I was about to ask. It's probably
Producing,
produced by.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Okay. Do we know who directed it?
Alexandra Aja, who did The Hills Have Eyes, Piranha 3D, and Horns, which was the Daniel Radcliffe one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. That looked kind of
Cool
interesting.
book, man.
I've seen Piranha 3D.
Really?
Or 3 double
3D.
D as it was marketed. Yeah, that was, look, it was fun. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that was like the early days of 3D.
This
Gratuitous.
feels. We've gotten a lot of those tongue in cheek. Like Piranha 3D looked tongue in cheek. We recently got Megalodon, which was very tongue in cheek. This feels like it's actually going for like an original Jaws, genuinely scary monster film. Or, like,
This
big
looks
creatures.
interesting. I'm
It's fun,
liking.
yeah. I mean, it reminds me a lot. Sorry, just
Yeah,
quickly.
get
It
in
reminds me
there.
a lot of Bait 3D. I think it was Australian. It was set in like a shopping mall that flooded. And there were sharks in there. So it looks
Oh.
exactly like
I
that.
It looks
missed that.
exactly like that. And it also looks like a movie that I watched, God, probably about 10 years ago. Australian film called Rogue. Yeah. Which was about a giant alligator as well.
It also looks like Lake Platypus.
And
or Lake Placid, I should say.
And ironically, I remember one of the things I remember from Rogue was that there was a dog that dies, and in this trailer there was a
Spoilers
a
for
dog.
Rogue, man.
Oh yeah, that
I was gonna
that
watch that
Australian
tonight.
film.
The
10
Russo
years
brothers
ago. Okay.
didn't lift the embargo.
Yeah, I just
This looks cool, man. I'm actually so in.
I'm so hesitant. Like that style of movie, I think, is such a gamble.
There's enough here to make it interesting. I like the way that they've kind of closed off the house, so they're stuck in this confined area. I'm liking the smaller scale of it, the practical nature of it. It feels like you kind of have to solve these problems with a toothbrush and a bar of soap. You know, they don't have a lot of weaponry.
I fucking hope that this movie's climax involves a toothbrush and a bar of soap somehow killing the crocodile.
Get it in his eyes. Get it in his eyes. Yeah, I know. I just like the stripped back nature of it, and I thought that the CG work on the alligator or the crocodile, well, whatever they have in America, alligator. That's right. That looked cool.
Yeah, look, I very much agree with the closed off comment that you made, like the fact that it's not just about this roaming through a town and like chomping on people. Like it just feels like it's going to take place in this house, that it's going to be a little bit more about them solving. It might be a bit more of a slow burn. There looks like there's some pretty gnarly shit that happens in this film. They show quite a bit of it though. I feel like there's like at least 3/4 of this film that is shown in the trailer, and
you see the alligator just latch right onto her arm.
Yeah,
and then like
I
the
was
next shot, something else. I'm like, she does not have the arm anymore after that point.
Like,
I'm quite
that's
certain.
such a. So I feel like I've seen 3/4 of the film anyways, but whatever.
How you vibing this?
My biggest takeaway was, where the fuck has Sam Raimi been? Has he directed anything since Oz the Great and the Powerful?
Oh man,
He kind of doesn't deserve to have. But
After that,
that's its own
after that
beast, though. We can forgive him.
Yeah.
He's been doing the hasn't he been very heavily involved with the
Ash
evil-
and the Walking
yeah.
Dead.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't watched any of that show, but probably looks good.
Well, I'm really keen on that.
Mm.
I think that should be a disaster horror film. Okay, I'm liking that. That's an interesting little hook. All done there?
Yep.
That's the shortest trailer time of all time.
Mm.
We're going to cap it off with a question of the week. And guys, don't forget, you can submit your questions in the comments below on YouTube. So don't forget that, because next week you could be chosen. Wouldn't that be wonderful? This week we got a question from somebody. What horror movie has stayed with you over the years? That somebody was Connor.
Yeah, no, that was something I actually wanted to ask you quite a few weeks ago, and I was just saving it for when we didn't have someone submitting a question. So I'll let you guys go first because I'm still thinking of mine. I didn't have one in mind.
Why did?
Because I was curious. It was a genuine question. Like
You
I
love living on the edge, don't you? Just
I
like, I'm
really
going to wait
do.
this whole episode and I'm going to fucking come it up with it at the end.
George, I say we both refuse to answer right now and watch him squirm.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Actually, Lord of the Rings, that is one
Yeah.
for me. Not
Okay.
a scary movie, but just
Shelob?
the moment of
Which one?
of Bilbo jumping for the ring.
Oh,
I just saw this
yeah.
again the other day somewhere. Man, that's really over the top. Let's get the fuck out of
Did
me.
you guys see that in the cinema when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Did you freak out? That was one bit that freaked me out. Another bit that freaked me out was Galadriel. When she, she goes all, "Woo," like, that scared the crap out of me.
'Cause you were on acid and you were just like,
I was 12 years old. My mum
time,
gave
yeah.
me that tab, and I was like, Mum, what's going on?
I'll give. I remember a film that stuck with me for quite a while because I think it was one of the first proper horror films, or proper like really suspenseful, like scary films that I had seen, which was Signs. Like I was not a kid that enjoyed horror films. I fucking hated it. I remember the first time I tried to watch The Mummy, like the Brendan Fraser 1990s, like not a horror film by any stretch of the imagination. I had to turn that thing off halfway. Like that scared the shit out of me. I was not okay with that. So I remember getting all the way through Signs, and that stuck with me for a while. I remember like me and my friends getting back home and like putting on the tinfoil hats and like, yeah, that stuck with me for quite a while.
I'm going to take a loophole here because I just reread the question because I want to check the wording. Because one in a similar vein actually is a movie that I still to this day haven't actually seen, but I remember the trailer for The Others, the Nicole Kidman film.
Oh, yeah.
Scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid. I can't remember what movie I saw it before, but I remember it was around the time of Signs as well, I think, because that trailer really scared me as well. But yeah, I so distinctly remember that trailer when she's like trying to find a little girl or whatever, and she takes like the veil off her head or something and just looks up with wide eyes. And it was, oh man.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that one.
Got me real good.
It's been on my list for a while.
I know the twist now, so I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, me too. My pick is there's a few rattling around my head because I'm a big fan of the genre, but maybe the reason why I'm thinking of this suggestion is because I really think it's time for a revisit. But Oculus, Mike Flanagan's Oculus from 13 or something. This is a really, really well put together film that is just leaps and bounds above most of your run-of-the-mill horror. It's actually so elegantly put together. A lot of directors, I think Mike Flanagan's a different breed because he gives the horror genre that much more respect. I think that a lot of directors come in and their first features there and they kind of one and done it and then move into the next batch. And not that they don't respect the genre, but there just seems to be a level of sophistication that Mike Flanagan brings to his films. He also did Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix series from last year. That's where everyone sort of knows him. But Oculus, it plays with time. It's so fascinating. It's really, really trippy. And it stars our friend Nebula from Infinity War, who's really great in it.
Yeah, you bought this movie for me on Blu-ray years ago as a birthday gift, and I watched it like last year, I think.
It's one of those beautiful ones that stays in its wrapping for like 5 years, and you're like,
pristine. And
then you watch it on digital or something.
Yeah. It's like, where's the YouTube stream?
I've literally done that before. Yeah. And it fucking blew me away, man. It was such just this advance of the genre for me. Like, it was this amazing story in a similar vein to Hill House about what happened after the supernatural event. Like, these kids had grown up after having, bad shit happen as kids. And then it was almost like a really cool sequel to another story that could have been its own whole thing.
I find that Mike Flanagan has a particular flair for characters. And I think that that's something that sometimes gets forgotten in horror films. I think a lot of people go into horror films, like creatives that want to make horror films, focus on making it the scariest film they can possibly make.
Or the concept or the mechanism.
Very focused on that.
And there's a lot of stuff that gets put into that. And the other kind of, basics of filmmaking or just basics of storytelling kind of get put to the wayside. Like, we don't need an interesting character. We don't need plot development. We don't need all that kind of stuff. And, it all hinges on how scary something is. And that, that for me is kind of why horror gets the reputation it does, which is that it's, it doesn't really get the respect I think that it deserves when it's, doing well.
Yep.
People who don't like horror are just cowards. I'm calling you out. My real answer is the first Paranormal Activity movie.
I was going to say that.
Fucking hate me if you will. That movie worked a treat on me. It scared the fuck out of me. I watched it at a midnight screening in a cinema. I went home that night. I remember I went to bed. I stayed up as late as I could. Tried to go to bed, flip the light off. I lay there for like 2 seconds and I was like, nope.
So
came back on. First time I ever slept like that in my whole life. And I was like 18.
But first two Paranormal Activities were really, really strong. And also from a filmmaking production standpoint, that was like $5,000 they spent on that film.
I remember because I was at the exact same midnight screening as you 10 years ago, whenever it was. But I remember that. And you were a fool. And you, like, the cinema that we were at had like a balcony where most everyone was, and we thought we were being brave by making sure that there was a couple of seats in between us, and then you bloody fool went down to the complete like lower half of the cinema where they're like basically like you were alone and watched the movie all on your own. I was like, that's psychopathic.
That's the way to do it.
But I remember there's 2 movies that I had experiences after actually watching. First one was The Ring. I actually watched it on a cruise when I was like, Christ, 10, not 10, like 14. I can't even remember. I was young. And the way that the room is set up is that we watched it. And then that night I was on like a bunk with my brother and I had to sleep right in front of the TV. And I was so not okay with that. Cause I remember like waking up in the middle of the night and I had to like go to the toilet and I turned around and it's just this TV right in front of me. I was like, nah, fuck that shit. I'm not going anywhere. I was like, I'll just hold it. Like, I don't even give a shit. Wow. That one. And then also Paranormal Activity after that midnight screening. Cause I walked home. It took me like 20 minutes to walk home alone at like 2:00 in the morning. Finally got home, and I used to sleep with the window open and with the door open, and the draft through the house sometimes would catch the door in the middle of the night and it would slam, and that was a mechanic in Paranormal Activity, and I remember that happening about 20 minutes into me closing my eyes, and I was not okay with that. I did the exact same thing as you. I chucked on my lights. I was like, fuck this noise.
The way that Katie screams Mika, the last word of that film, is hardwired into my brain. I'm getting chills now.
I used to go into that film just to watch the last 5 minutes when we were on shift, just to watch people's reaction to that. It was great.
So good.
No credits on the film. People just start crying and
I remember watching this. I walked into like it was like a mid-Sunday session or something like that, and where the cinema that we all used to work at is placed, it's close to a lot of retirement homes. I remember walking in, it was completely empty cinema. It's like an 800 people cinema. It's fucking huge. And in the middle is just this one old lady. She'd had to have been at least 80. And I went in, and I actually like, I stopped, double checked myself. I walked in and I was like, you must have the wrong seat. I'm like, do you know where you are? She's like, no, I'm really excited. I'm ready to do this. I was like, that is a fucking trooper.
Where I want to be.
Yeah, when in fucking 50 years, that's
right.
that's where I want to be. I want to be that old lady, be like ready for a horror film, just on my own. I was like, I'm not doing that. Fuck that.
Well, guys, let us know if there are any horror gems that have stuck with you, because we're always looking out for some good recommends. So let us know in the comments. Let us know on Facebook, Instagram. We're there. We're everywhere. And also, we started putting annotations in the bottom. I should say it's at the beginning of the video. Annotations in the description if you want to skip anywhere. I'm going to say that at the beginning of the episode next time. Because if you're here at the end, you've already made it. But if you want to skip back...
Can you put in the annotations message about annotations?
Yes. I will.
If you're someone that's actually like slogged through this
it's more
entire
of a
podcast...
public service
for
announcement.
one thing.
Public service announcement.
And they're like, oh, I could have skipped right to the end? What?
We got Detective Pikachu coming up later in the week, so don't forget about that. We'll be back next week for the weekly movie show. Kana.
See ya.
And Benny.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I feel like when it gets to like the more cold it gets in winter, the more we'll just dial these things up and just eliminate heat.
There's no halogen. They're not halogens. They should effectively not release any heat.
It might just be the fact that I've finished up running and I've been rushing around everywhere.
And the psychology of it.
Yeah.
Psychology
I
of
feel like it's the lights.
the lightage.
It also looks like it's just pointing at those. Like
I know.
I'm
The
very
wide angle
concerned.
lens is it's a wild thing. Everyone happy with the stories? Everyone got a horror movie that stayed with them?
No, but I will by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.